that Dr. Anthony Chaffee often talks about, and it's about when we're young and we're sort of, it's tried to drill into us that we need to eat plants and we need to eat greens, and like you can't have your dessert until you've had your broccoli. And the sort of the innate knowledge of a child that wants to spit out plants doesn't want to eat plants, because it's sort of an evolved mechanism to say, you know, that I don't want to eat this is not healthy for me. So I mean, it's sort of something that we know, and we learn to eat plants rather than it being natural to us.
You are forced to eat plants in order to domesticate you. So ultimately, the industrial complexes of the world are the most mightiest people of the world in the sense of what they control. They control the marketing, and making a lot of money seems to be the most important thing for people's lives, which ultimately money is the devil in some way. Again, when you're only searching for money, it is the devil. But when you're absolutely searching for the passion of helping people in this world, the money will come in order for you to invest even more. But you're right. I have these few little childhood memories. One was at one time I put the peas in my pocket. I took them to the bathroom. I put them out. Now I'm sure my mom and dad knew exactly what I was doing, but basically I hated them, and like they were mush in my mouth. So you know, Chafee's got this rock on in such a good way, but ultimately this isn't new. This is the oldest of the old. We've been convinced through marketers to eat the mush in order to make a lot of money on something they say is good because someone believed it. But much of it comes out of sort of powerful groups, religious group, political groups, all sorts of money-making groups that basically say that it's a commodity. We've become the commodity, right? If we feed you this, you get sick, and then you require medical care and health care and drugs. But if you eat strictly meat, fatty meat, oh my God, you're gonna be healthy. But if I feed the cows and pigs, remember the cows and pigs are livestock, they get sick on eating plants. But when they get sick, the masters lose money. But when you get sick on eating plants, someone makes money. So, but ultimately, don't blame anyone but yourself. Take control. I tell parents, stop feeding your kid plants. You're causing the problems. And then they say, well, they won't eat anything else. Well, my friends, you decide what you buy and bring home. Your kid wants beef from a bone and milk from a breast. That's it.
Yeah. And so you're mentioning that if a cow gets sick and if livestock gets sick, then it doesn't make any money for the owner.
They lose money.
Yeah.
The owners, the money behind the story. When livestock gets sick on eating plants, and they do, there's a journal called the United States Department of Agriculture's Journal on Plant Poisoning. Well, there isn't one for human poisoning, but for plant poisoning, because when an animal gets sick on the very plants that we have fed them, then we're concerned we're losing money. That's why antibiotics and hormones and many other drugs are used to treat animals, because when they get sick, we don't want them to get sick. But we want you to get sick. And again, as a doctor, I was taught to feed you plants, but I didn't know what I was feeding you was going to get you sick.
But we're mostly feeding animals plants, aren't we? We're mostly feeding cows that we're feeding them grains, and we're feeding them soybean and things like that.
Well, we're feeding them mostly. Well, they're feeding on plants, but the plants they're feeding on is not their natural diet, and that's part of the problem. But the problem is the plants around the globe have been moved around, and they're invasive, and the animals in the parts of the world that they're living in didn't eat that in the first place. I mean, the animals and the plants are equally been domesticated and damaged as you and I. So we're thinking somehow, well, you know, it's the cows, right? The cows are killing us, right? They're killing the world. They're stomping on the lands, but it really is stupidly simple.
What's the knock on for if we're feeding cows grains, or we're feeding, you know, this is the argument of grass-fed meat versus grain-fed meat. What's the knock-on effect for the health of the meat?
Well, I don't think in general that's a significant issue personally. We focus on the wrong things, right? So yes, the wrong plants for the animal damages the animal, and the meats are likely not significantly changed, in my opinion. But if we all had grass, pasture raised, wild caught cows in a grass fed world, that would be the very best. All right. But getting to that is not going to happen of any significance in the short term. But the meat you eat from a grain fed versus a grass fed, almost all cows are raised on grass. But then they're finished either with more grains or just simply on grass. See, we're all animals and all plants have been modified for human consumption, all of them. Fruit, vegetables, seeds, nuts, everything you eat didn't exist 10 million years ago in any semblance of what it looks like today. But I would say that that's not the issue, because humans are suffering because they're eating a plant-based, low animal fat diet. And they're eating like a grazing animal. That's the simplicity.
Because we're eating consistently throughout the day. That's sort of just grazing all the time.
Yes, we are a hunter. We're meant to hunt for our food, spend days, if not weeks, hunting for our food. And if you happen to eat fruits and you didn't eat vegetables, there can be no vegetable that I would eat raw. It won't happen. Would we eat a fruit? Well, where did they exist and how frequently? Before you began to plant and do farming, they didn't exist. And so sugar is good and we want to eat more of it because it converts to fat fast. We're able to eat and get it to fat. You want to be fat, not skinny. But ultimately, the plants and the animals and the humans are all suffering from our modern industrial methods, where we believe we're gonna put everyone on plants and they're going to be healthy, which is the largest lie ever led out by the leaders that basically, I call them the pharaohs, the popes, the presidents, the priests, the physicians. Then if I didn't mention the professors, but basically a lion and a wolf that eats plants becomes a dog and a cat, a domesticated animal. Humans are ancient hunters. They eat plants. They become domesticated humans. We'll wait in line for everything because we're domesticated. We're addicted. You're not addicted. There's no addiction to fatty meat and water and air. You're not addicted to those things. But addiction means you consume something your body doesn't require.
Yeah.